that's a big deal, man.
So Ole Miss, their fans are melting down. They're 1-2 in conference play. They felt like this was the most talented roster that they had ever put together. Talk that they had put close to $15 million into the roster. This is still a new age. I think you were just alluding to it, that we're still going to have to go through a couple of cycles, Luke, to actually figure out the who, what, where, and why with the portal and roster balance and all that. But how important is this off week for Lane Kiffin, Pete Golding, and crew to keep these guys locked in, considering they thought and other people thought that this could be a, top 5, top 6, top 7 team during the offseason?
Well, that's the thing. And you mentioned the transfer portal part of it, because now, and Ohio State just entered this conversation too with their loss to Oregon, is everything about how this team was put together through the open market, through high school recruiting, but most notably because of the portal, was done to instantly create a college football playoff caliber team, right? And so then when things don't start going that way, and I've said this from the word go, and this could be any number of teams, so I'm not making this exclusive about Ole Miss, and I'm not saying this is happening with Ole Miss. But the danger of the portal and the danger of transient rosters is when things don't go well, what is the individual player's motivation, allegiance, and loyalty to? Is it to the team that rented him? Is it to themselves? Is it to NIL? Or is it to the team? And those are hard questions to ask, and I know people don't like having those types of discussions, but this is what we've entered into transactional college football. And in doing so, there's a downside to that. So if you look at, let's just take Florida State, for example. No, I'm not comparing Florida State to Ole Miss, but what I'm saying is when you hit on the right guys in the transfer portal and you quickly turn the thing around and find yourself 13-0, okay? You look at that team last year at Florida State, and then all of those guys go out the door at the same time. So think about those transfers. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, Jaheim Bell. I could go on and on and on. All of those guys were brought into Florida State, helped quickly turn the thing around, turned it into an ACC championship caliber type football team, and they all went out the door. Now you got to go try and replace those guys. Well, what if you replace them with the wrong guys? And how quickly that thing can go downhill. And so it's so hard to predict what players are going to do if there's an individual component to all of this when it comes to me versus we. And I think that's very real in the era of college football we have right now.
Yeah. So they're 1-2. If they win out, they could make it. If they lose one more time, it's definitely done. The committee loves top 25 wins. That's what they've told us. They love top 25 wins. Love it. That drives pretty much the whole thing. When I look at their schedule, I look at Oklahoma, I think 7-5, best case scenario, Luke's. Mm-hmm. I think Arkansas is a good story. I don't think they'll be in the top 25. Georgia will be. Florida will not be. Mississippi State will not be. So as I look down the stretch here, they have an opportunity. Ole Miss has an opportunity for one top 25 win, which tells me there's no wiggle room. They have to get it, Luke's.
Yeah, that's the thing. The margin of error now for everybody is razor thin, because we're sitting here talking about Ole Miss and the limited opportunities that are left, and the fact that you really you can't lose. And in the same conversation, in the same breath, as it relates to the college football playoff, we're talking about a team like Iowa State, who's ranked 11th in the country. Who would have thought Iowa State would be 11th in the country, right? Or even, they might even moved up. That might have been yesterday. Let me see real quick. They might have moved up. Yeah. They're 9.
Good grief.
Iowa State is number 9. So we're sitting here having conversations. Let's think about this. BYU's undefeated, sitting there at 13. Notre Dame's 5-1, and the rest of their schedule,
it's cupcakes,
right now,
man.
What's that?
It's cupcakes.
You're looking at 2 service academies that are currently undefeated as being the best 2 teams remaining on their schedule. Okay, you have Tennessee, who could be in an elimination contest this week versus Alabama, and then maybe further down the road versus a team like Georgia, right? Clemson's rolling right now. LSU's got everything in front of them. Alabama's got major questions. So the way this thing's unfolding, Ohio State just put themselves in jeopardy. And then Penn State stealing that game from SC last week. We're having conversations about SEC teams in the college football playoff. The problem is the margin of error in the SEC for those teams, when you consider who the other teams are in the discussion, is continuing to be razor thin. And I haven't even brought up on Indiana, right? How about Texas A&M? Texas A&M's a problem. They're sitting there at 14.
Yeah, they're going to get upset this weekend in Starkville.
You think? Hey, at least, by the way, they're scoring points.
Hey, Van Buren, who you know all about from being head of recruiting.
He's a scrapper, man.
I thought that kid played a hell of a second half and dropped some dimes for a true freshman in Sanford Stadium. That's not easy to do, Tom.
No. Yeah, no, I'm with you. They kept just kind of hanging in there and plugging away. So, yeah, I just think that this, all of the discussion too, Bo, that, pro and con, good and bad about the expansion of the college football playoff, what would it do to the regular season? All it's doing is enhancing the regular season, because it's not just about 4 teams anymore. It's about slots. It's about spots that everybody's trying to make. And so what you do in conference is unbelievable, but then you're having to worry about teams now that you never had to worry about.